My friends in film fandom, wherever you may be and however you may be watching, thank you so much for giving us a little bit of your time. Boy, the Christmas classics. I mean, you've got a few. You got Miracle on 34th Street. You've got, a bunch of other ones. It's a Wonderful Life. Is this one of the new Christmas classics? We're going to talk about that over the course of the stream because I think this is a real fun movie, one that I'm glad we're finally getting to tackle, albeit about a year late, but it's still very, very good. Here to tackle this particular review with me are two of my amazing co-hosts, the first of which being my hetero life mate, Jeremy. What's up, brother?
There's a lot to be said about this movie. I was really excited when I first saw it come out. I think it was about a year ago now, and never got around to seeing it, unfortunately. So I'm definitely glad we did this, and I will reiterate that again with more emphasis. I am definitely glad we did this because this shit was so much fun. So there was one particular moment, and I'm sure we will all know exactly what it is, but there was one where it lost a lot of points with me, but we'll get there. Stay tuned for the suspense of what I'm talking about.
And
What's
of course,
the Welsh man gonna say?
And of course, our good friend from down south, the Shaped in the Lone Star State, my man Tex. What's up, brother?
This just further proves my point that movies about gory violence and murder are just better films. Like, this is just another one in the win column for me here. It's just, my point is being proved more every day. So, I mean, just, I hate to say I'm right, but, I think I am. Just saying.
Violence and gross death can be fun in the right light. In the right light.
No, can is not the right word. Always is the correct verbiage you were looking for there, sir. But it's the holiday season, so I'll let it slide.
Lady Cora, not with us tonight. She's got some stuff going on. She may pop in later. If she does, we'll be able to get some of her thoughts on this. But for right now, we are here to talk about Violent Night, the 2022 American Christmas action comedy film directed by Tommy Wirkola and written by Pat Casey and Josh Miller. It follows Santa Claus, portrayed in this movie by David Harbour, as he fights mercenaries who have taken a wealthy family hostage in their home. The film also stars John Leguizamo, Alex Hassell, and Beverly D'Angelo. Violent Night had its world premiere at the New York Comic Con on October 2nd of 2022. Universal's Pictures released the film to theaters in the United States on December 2nd of that year. And the film received generally positive reviews from critics. It grossed about $76.6 million worldwide against a $20 million budget, making it pretty successful financially. And, of course, a sequel is now in development. On Rotten Tomatoes, the film holds an approval rating of 74% based on 208 reviews, with an average rating of 6.4 out of 10. The website's critics' consensus reads, quote, "Violent Night isn't as wildly entertaining as its concept might suggest, but for those seeking a harder-edged holiday fare, it may be a whole lot of fun." Ha, I see what he did with that review there. I swear to God, this is what happens when you let AI do your writing for you, by the way. But, I'll go to you first, Tex. Give me some of your brief thoughts on Violent Night before we get into the spoiler stuff.
Yeah, I saw this last year when it came out. It was a lot of fun. It was obviously there's callbacks to so many Christmas things. I mean, hell, even the poster behind us was a callback to Silent Night, Deadly Night, one of my favorites from the '80s. I'm more partial to two, but the poster and the homage is still there. Who doesn't love a drunk, violent Santa Claus that pukes on people? I mean, come on now. What more can you really ask for out of life? I want to see him versus Leatherface in a sledgehammer fight. I think that would be a rivalry that would go for the ages. I think that would be really cool to see. But yeah, this was a fun movie. It was a little long. I think you could have trimmed 10 minutes off of it, and it would have been better for it. But since last year it has. Well, obviously I watched it this year again. This will be a yearly watch for me. I can say that.
Jeremy, how about you? What are some of your quick thoughts on Violent Night before we get into the deeper stuff?
Yeah, it's always fun when you take something that's, this could be two different genres. Like you have Christmas movies, and then you have, which that's a whole other discussion I'm sure we're going to have later. And also, when I saw this is from the same, I think, producers of John Wick, I'm like, oh, I know exactly what this movie is going to be now. So I'm like, you have over the top, in your face, bloody, like gore, violence, action. I'm like, okay, so you meld the two, and sometimes some beautiful shit happens. So this is definitely one of those movies where it all worked out the right way. I know Tex said Leatherface, but I think someone did say that this, given the company that made this, it is technically in the same canon and universe as the Krampus movie, that holiday like comedy movie they
About the
made a few
same
years ago.
thing.
So I'm like, okay, but hear me out. Part 2, Civil War. Let's have Krampus and this David Harbour Santa go at it, because I'm fucking here for that. I mean, that's
I'm Team Krampus on that one. I'm Krampus all the way, baby.
As much as I loved this, basically, is David Harbour Santa, or is Santa David Harbour in this movie? But I'm not mad. It works. As much as I love the guy, I mean, I don't know. I would probably still have to go Krampus. Sorry. But, hey, magic, Christmas magic. We already know how it works, right? So who knows what could happen.
Yeah, for me, it's like, it's fun when people turn Christmas on its ear. I mean, because anybody can go make some cutesy movie about Christmas time, finding love, rediscovering who you are. Some of that soft ass shit. I mean, Lifetime comes out with about 30 of these movies
Hallmark.
Every year. Yeah, Hallmark. They come out with 30 of those a year.
Same damn movie
but,
over and over.
But when you kind of go against the traditional Christmas fare, it really does add something to it. It's like I've talked before about how the holidays kind of lends itself to the horror genre. Like, it's great to watch like a Silent Night, Deadly Night or something like that, where instead of just getting Santa coming down the tree and the presents and the lesson learned, or whatever about the holidays, that it ends up body parts get thrown everywhere, blood, spit, and ass. I mean, it's counter programming inside the programming itself, which is kind of cool. It makes it that much more fun. So to kind of turn the usual stuff on its ear, and yeah, it's Santa Claus, but it's not Santa Claus like it's not Tim Allen's Santa Claus.
Not
it's
my
not the Santa Claus. Yeah, there's no family lesson to be learned at the end of the well, maybe there was in this movie, I guess, but yeah, there's no fun little family lesson to be learned through it all that's emotional and stuff. But yeah, it kind of has that, but at the same time, there's a lot of people get thrown out of buildings and impaled by icicles and grenades stuffed in their pants, and you watch them turn into mush and so on and so forth. I mean, yeah, Christmas it's a fun time of year to screw around with and to do non-traditional things in cinema. Like I said, with the horror genre being so many Christmas-based horror movies. But yeah, I mean, it's a fun movie. I mean, it's like I said, it's one of those movies where you have fun just turning your brain off and watching it and not really trying to give it much thought. You just let the movie happen in front of you and you just enjoy the moments. This movie is a collection of moments that just kind of happen and they coalesce into this one thing at the end. But that's not even the most important thing, because the movie is just a fun ride. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But let's get into the plot real quick. Again, Santa's doing stuff and gets caught up in this crazy thing. And there's really not, what have we said before? We never let story get in the way of a good movie, or plot get in the way of a good movie. But, I'll go to you first, Jeremy. I mean, a very basic, very simple plot, and yet it fills this movie up nicely. What did you think about the plot of the movie?
Yeah, I think from from the trailer, it seemed like it was going to be, just David Harbour Santa just kicking everyone's ass for being on the naughty list. And I'm like, well, that kind of happened. And I almost kind of thought it fell into that genre of like, oh yeah, you showed all the cool stuff that happened in the trailer and none of it really did anything. I'm like, oh, I see him winding up with a thing of fucking tinsel. I'm like, oh, he's going to strangle somebody. And then he fucking bumps the Santa and he's like, oh, you fucking traitor, shit, throws it. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, they at least had fun with the creativity of it. I mean, I'll give it that for sure. But there was more to this movie, like you said. There's they kind of, I don't know. I wasn't quite sure where some of it was kind of trying to go, even tonally, but I'm like, yeah, it's had I don't know, maybe it's just the line that sticks with me where he's like, yeah, I don't know how Christmas magic fucking works. I mean, well, yeah, we believe in Santa, and it's just like, sure, that brought him back from the dead. Fuck it, we'll call it even. I don't know. It made me laugh. I mean, I'm not. Don't let any of that make you think that I didn't enjoy this movie. I definitely did. But it works for it's one of those movies too, where like it's not like a horror movie, but like the thing I always say with horror movies is you have to like, especially now, you have to like set up the fact that like, oh yeah, there's no internet. You can't just call someone. You can't. And they even added in like, oh, he can't just fly off because his reindeer took off on him, and he's having some ED with his little nose. You can't use this magic. So like, well, it kind of sets up all the like, yeah.
Wait. Did you just say your erectile dysfunction knows? Is that what you're going with?
Yeah, he was struggling to make the magic happen, Tex. It happens when you
we can kill the podcast right here. We're not going to do any better than that line. That was tremendous, sir. That was great.
We'll put it in the greatest hits when we all have our comedic golden nuggets.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but that was gold right there. I had to point that out.
That's the best way I can describe it. So I mean, like I said, it covered all the bases of like, I mean, even again throwing that in there, we're like, I don't know how the fucking magic works, because you could always just be like, oh yeah, why can't he just use? I even found myself saying like, dude, you're magic. Like, how are you? You're kind of just like a mortal dude right now. You're getting shot, you're getting stabbed, and you're hilariously like wrapping yourself up with like fucking wrapping paper as a fucking bandage, which is kind of.
I thought that was a lot of fun.
Gently pats it on there, like ties it with a ribbon. I'm like, God damn it, that's so funny. Yeah, but I'm like, damn, he's just getting his ass kicked. Which I mean is nice to. There's a balance there, because I'm like, yeah, he could just be magic and just be wrecking all kinds of shop even worse with these guys. But it definitely worked, and it worked even throwing the kid in, because of course we're going to have a pretty good homage to Home Alone. And I'm glad that we actually leaned into the fact that, yeah, Kevin McAllister killed those two guys like 20 times over. And we're like, oh yeah, no, he definitely did. We just showed a few of these things where I'm like, yeah, they would have died at the very least. So no, it's a good plot. I like it. It's a lot of fun, and I can say what you want about John Leguizamo, but like the dude was probably having a lot of fun. Can't deny. And I totally didn't even. I had to keep looking at him. I'm like, oh, that's the guy who played like the douchey brother-in-law or whatever. I've seen him in a few movies, but I just like haven't seen him since. So I wasn't expecting this like lanky, like ripped dude in like this weird flashy suit. And I was like, oh, that's him. He's just kind of being who he always is, just like the goofy nut of a character. So yeah, that works.
Yeah. Tex, what did you think? I mean, was there just enough plot to make this work? I mean, not a lot of brushes, not a lot of paint to work with, but did they make a good picture for you to enjoy?
Normally I'm the one with the funny one-liners, but Jeremy beat me to it with equivalating whiskey dick to whiskey powers now. So apparently that's a thing in movies. So I guess bravo to him for that. But
also, thank you for putting my favorite henchman. Krampus was the fucking best. I'm sorry. I would have loved to have played that guy. That's all I gotta say. I would have had so much fun with that.
I kind of thought there was a little too much plot in this. I mean, when I first saw the trailer, I don't even think I watched all of it, to be honest with you. I was like, okay, Santa Claus killing naughty people, pretty simple. But you add in the subplot of, former Viking, and he used to be the naughtiest of the naughty list, and now he's good, and then all of the family drama stuff. This felt like they were trying to start a new franchise by throwing all of this to you at once. Kind of like, like the first Lord of the Rings movies. There's so much dialogue. There's so much stuff that they put in there that they're just going to like explain or show to you later. I mean, you could do prequels, sequels. You could do all kinds of things just off of this one film. I mean, plot-wise, it's Die Hard with Santa Claus mixed with John Wick and Home Alone and 3 or 4 other Christmas properties. You've got it's as you described from the AI generated review. It's a Christmas movie for horror fans. It's much in the vein of all of the Merry Xmas and Santa Claus and all of the other horror stuff that's came out throughout the years. It works. It's a fun film. Like I said, I think it was a little plot heavy. I could have done without most of the family. that was one of my biggest dislikes of this is the villains didn't feel unique enough for me. A lot of times in movies like this, you get unique villains that are memorable. Besides John Leguizamo, oh God, the family was horrible. The family might be worse than the people who were trying to steal from them somehow. That's weird saying.
That might have
But
been.
the only, huh?
That might have been the point, though. I mean, you're kind of weirdly
Yeah.
rooting for
Well,
the other bad guys, you know.
the only likable people, well, the only likable main cast people was Santa and the little girl, which I believe that was intentional. But
Yeah.
you know, I mean, when it came to plot, there was just so much thrown in here. Oh, well, I believe in you, Santa, when nobody else does. Obviously, tugging at the heartstrings and everything else. But I could have done, like I said, I could have trimmed 10 minutes off of this and had it be a better film. But you know, it's a nice start to what I hope is more to come, and obviously there is more coming. But the plot works. I just think it was a bit heavy at times. You know what I mean?
I actually thought it worked out pretty well. I mean, obviously the main focus of the story is Santa kicking ass. I mean, that's what 80% of this movie was, especially from like middle of the first act on. But I mean, you had to have a little bit of emotion in it. And the relationship that builds between him and the girl does that. I actually it made things interesting. I mean, I kind of agree with Tex that the family doesn't really serve a purpose other than like as a collective to be like the Mary Sue, the damsel in distress sort of. Until you get to that point where she reads his card and you find out that her son is the one who took all the money, I was like, that's an interesting little thing because now I don't know where that's going to pop up again. I thought it was kind of silly. I think it could have been used in a different way, not necessarily to like have the mom turn on him and like throw him to the lions at the end of the movie or anything. But I thought it was a bit too, hallmarky at the end of the movie for her to be like, oh yeah, that's what I was looking for you to do. I was like, really? That's kind of silly for her to be like, oh, I read that. I knew you were the one thing over my company. That seemed really cheesy to me. I didn't like that. I don't have a better idea for what I could have done with that little plot line, but to me, I was like, meh. I mean, because you kind of saw it coming. It was a bit too telegraphed. I would have liked something that would have been a surprise. But yeah, I mean, overall, I mean, I thought everything worked out really well. Like the family stuff came up at just the right time in the movie. They didn't interrupt the action of the movie. They didn't interrupt the pace to give you the family stuff. It was really just kind of background anyway, because you have to explain why all these people are in the same place at the same time. Yeah, they're all family. Oh, and they're all basically generally bad people, which gives you the motivation for why John Leguizamo, these thieves are after the shit to begin with, after their money to begin with, because they're assholes. If they were good people, maybe they would have thought twice about robbing them. But I mean, it all kind of worked out for me. But then again, it's like you just needed enough plot to have dialogue because you can't just have 2 hours of fighting. Then you get Hardcore Henry, which, is a fun movie to watch, but not satisfying.
Well,
Yeah.
That's why I said I could trim 10 minutes off of this and the movie would be better for it because you wouldn't have had to create more plot lines that may or may not be needed to fill out your runtime. You know what I'm saying?
No, I thought it worked out pretty well. I actually kind of enjoyed it. Like I said, there wasn't too much plot. They didn't try to make this movie more than it was. It was enough to get you from the beginning of the movie to the end and to give you that complete story. That's what I want, just enough plots in some movies. Other movies, I want more plot, especially if it's dialogue heavy, not necessarily an action, a drama, or a period piece. I want that, but in a movie like this, you don't want to overrun it with a bunch of extra bullshit. And I don't really think there was a bunch of extra bullshit in this. There was just enough to kind of keep it going. But let's talk about the cast. I mean, boy, like I said, you can't beat some of the people that were in this movie. I mean, for one, David Harbour, already fantastic. The little girl, I think, does a very good job. I really like when child actors can come into a really difficult movie and do well, because a lot of times kids are just there to look cute. I mean, she does kind of generate the fear in her eyes every now and again. Not always, but every now and again she actually does look fearful. So she sells it pretty well. And of course she's cute as a button, which doesn't hurt. But I mean, John Leguizamo and Beverly D'Angelo. I mean, John Leguizamo is a great bad guy. He's been a bad guy in a couple of things. I think he's been very enjoyable. And Beverly D'Angelo is just usually awesome. Also in the movie, the girl that played her daughter is Edie Patterson, who is in one of my absolute favorite TV shows that's on streaming right now, in The Righteous Gemstones, which is one of the funniest things I've ever fucking seen. And she's great in it. But But yeah, I thought this cast worked out very, very well. The terrorists were just there to look menacing. They did a good job looking menacing, saying funny things that were unintentionally funny at just the right times. But I'll go to you first, Tex. What do you think of the cast overall, and who stood out to you the most, other than maybe David Harbour?
Well, of course, David Harbour. But to me, it was, I mean, the one with the most personality that I liked the best was John Leguizamo. Like I said, he's a great villain. He's, you know, the only bad movie I think I've ever seen him in was that Mario movie from the '90s that we've all agreed doesn't exist.
Mm.
But he's always done really well. One of my favorite roles from him was Summer of Sam. I'm sure y'all seen that one as well. That's a really good one with him. But John Leguizamo, he's always been one of those guys. He was also really good in George Romero's Land of the Dead, which is the fourth in his line of the Dead films that he did, and he's just always been a good actor. And he's kind of got that character actor villain type personality to him. So anytime he plays a role like this, he does it very well. Like I said, besides that, the rest of the villains were forgettable. I mean, they were just human flesh waiting to be beaten to death or blown up by Santa Claus, depending on which weapon he wanted to go with.
Hey, they served a purpose.
And,
they weren't meaningless.
Oh, no. I'm not saying, hey, you're talking to the guy that wants like 25 people in a Texas Chainsaw movie just so we get that bus scene where he goes, get ready to get canceled, bro. And he just runs through a whole bus full of people. I like that in a movie. I like to see a high body count. But
it would have been that little Gen Z fucker who was like live streaming everything. He's like, "You're gonna get canceled, bro," and he just
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I like that's why I go to the movies. Y'all know this already. But like I said, John Leguizamo was really, besides David Harbour, the star of the show. I mean, he was the best villain that you could have gotten for this movie. It fit very well with what the story did. I thought he did well.
My camera. Jeremy, what about you? What do you think of the cast? Did it work out well for you, and who stood out the most for you? Who carried the film other than maybe David Harbour?
Oh, I was like, who was my favorite? But he didn't carry the movie, but I don't care. It was Krampus. That guy, like, if I said anyone was having more fun than anybody on set, it was probably that dude. Yeah, that dude. Like, they're running through their code names and shit, and he just walks in like he's like Krampus, and I'm here to fuck shit up. I was like, I love this guy already. You sold me in one line, dude. I feel like he's probably the most, I don't know, say like realistic or probably like the most relatable because, like, man, he's just sitting watching the three of them just bicker back and forth. He's like, I don't know which one to fucking shoot first. He's just having a hard time just watching them just go at each other. He's just like, dude, I'm just here to do, what I'm here to do. Like, you guys are giving me a fucking headache.
I am the devil, and I'm here to do the devil's work.
Exactly.
That's the funny. Every like good heist movie has those characters that are different specialties and personalities. So you had like the Asian girl downstairs was like the tech person. Then you had like the Swedish guy who was kind of the organization of it all. Then you had Krampus and the blonde girl who were kind of like, they were the ones that were obviously the killers. They did the wet work, the dirty work. And then of course John Leguizamo was kind of the leader of it all. But Krampus was definitely a lot of fun. I wish he would have had a little bit more dialogue because he delivered the one-liners and the funny stuff pretty well.
Mm-hmm. He definitely did.
But for me, like I said, Edie Patterson is funny as shit to me. She basically plays the same role on Righteous Gemstones, only not nearly as murderous. But Beverly D'Angelo, good God, how do you not? She is still the queen of all Christmas films. Between National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation and this, it's like there's not a Christmas film that can be made that I don't want to see her in for any reason whatsoever. But I also, one of the things that I just loved was her introduction into the movie. It's like when they're like, "Oh yeah, your grandma's. Oh, we're so happy to be here with your grandma." She watched this. She goes, "You can take your last best offer, shove it up your box."
Right, like, all right.
I was like, "Yeah, that's awesome." Another thing, it's like I talk all the time about how I love people who act with their eyes. I really love what she did when she's reading that letter from her son, and she's finding out that little detail, that look that comes over her face. I was like, "Wow, that's someone who's been in front of a camera before. That's someone who knows how to work that facial expression, how to not move a muscle but change your face." That is high level pro acting right there. I love her. Like I said, the John Leguizamo. I like what you said. He's pretty good at everything. I haven't seen him, and I've seen him do dramatic stuff. He was in that Waco series that was on Netflix.
Yeah, he played the agent. He played the agent in that miniseries about the tragedy at Waco. He did really well on that too.
You know, it's a reminder that while you know people for certain things, that there's guys out there with real acting chops, and I think that he's got them. It's got me kind of disappointed that I don't want to say his career has been fledgling, but just that he hasn't. I mean, he's carried a few movies, he's been in some big movies, but he's never really been given a chance to shine. I think the way that he really could, because I really do think this guy could do a lot of different things. I mean, I've seen him in action movies. I've seen him in comedies. The Pest is one of my favorite comedies of all times. I don't know if you guys have ever seen The Pest or not. Oh my God, that movie is hilarious.
It's been many years since I have.
This was like late 90s, I want to say, late 90s. But oh my God, it was so damn funny. But yeah, I mean, he's done a lot of different kinds of things, and he's been even in bad movies, he's been very, very good. I mean, he could do something like this. He could do something like Waco, and then do something like Tu Wong Fu, where he plays a drag queen, and make it all look very, very good. Well, I'm not surprised you haven't seen it, but it's actually quite entertaining. It's him, Patrick Swayze, and Wesley Snipes are drag queens.
Oh yeah, no, I prefer to visualize Patrick Swayze as the ass kicker in Roadhouse, not cross dressing. Thank you.
It's actually quite a funny movie. Yeah, I would hope you'd give it a chance. I understand, but it's actually a very funny movie. But yeah, I mean, John Leguizamo is very, very good, and I'm hoping that at some point somebody like really gives him a big vehicle that he can like just kind of like take on as his own and kind of make it his own thing. But yeah, the cast is fantastic. But I mean, let's talk about David Harbour. I mean, lots of people have played Santa Claus on the big screen. I'll go to you first, Tex. I mean, again, lots of people have played him. Some people not so great. Some people have just been iconic, like Edward Gwynn and Miracle on 34th Street. Things like that. Where does he rank for you in all the movie adaptations, big or small screen adaptations of Jolly Old Saint Nick?
My number one favorite version is from A Christmas Horror Story, which is one of the movies I recommended a couple episodes ago from here. Basically, he's a Santa Claus that has to basically fight a bunch of zombie elves, it's just so fun to watch. I still say you need to go back and watch that movie. I love Billy Bob Thornton in Bad Santa. I mean, come on, that Santa's just like, you cannot love that guy. He's so cool. David Harbour's definitely up there. I couldn't put him any higher than 3. I mean, the Santa from A Christmas Story, where he pushes Ralphie down the slide with that very, close, up close shot up on his face right there. Just horrifying image as a child, There's been so many good Santas. And, of course, on the other side, for the wholesome, like Tim Allen Santa Claus, I think that one has to be up there. But he's a top 5er for me, I would say. From 3 to 5, place him wherever you want. But he's a Viking Santa that's a mix of John Wick and John McClane. I mean, how can you not like that? It's basically what he was. There were so many things about his Santa that they didn't really. This is another one of those movies that didn't really do anything original, but what they borrowed from, they did well, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's no new ideas anymore. So you're going to take a little of this and a little of that and make it your own. And that's what David Harbour did here. And then, of course, adding the whole Viking background. I'm more interested in that than I am anything. How he gets from Viking to Santa Claus. That's the movie I need.
Pretty cool.
But he was a good Santa. I mean, I'll give him that. He was, like I said, from number 3 to 5, he's somewhere in there for me.
Jeremy, how about you? You've seen plenty big screen iterations of Santa Claus over the years. Where does he rank for you in that list of people that have put on the red suit and ridden the sleigh?
Well, you put on the suit and you can drive the sleigh, but do you have a skull crusher? That's the important question. See? Yeah. So, I mean, that That right there, man, that was his fucking Thor's hammer of, going right up
That's his
into
Mjolnir.
top. Yeah, that's his Mjolnir. Being that he's a Viking, I mean, it kind of makes sense actually when you think about it.
I
I don't know.
wonder if they're cousins. Like if him and Loki and Thor are related. I wonder where the hierarchy is.
It could be. I was wondering, I'm like, man, if he dies fighting these guys, is he gonna go like to some weird like Christmas Valhalla? Like that's kind of badass.
You need Santa Claus in the MCU. That's how you say you make a Christmas MCU movie with this Santa Claus fighting alongside Thor. That's how you say the MCU. Right
there you go.
He could be a variant of of his character from Black Widow.
I was gonna say he could be instead of that Russian fucking Captain Russia, whatever the fuck, Red Star, whatever the fuck his name was. Yeah.
Oh, I forgot David Harbour. There you go. Oh my God.
Yep.
How has Hollywood not hired us? This is stupid.
That's like that shatters that illusion of like when you see like an actor or actress in a movie and then you see him in something else. Like for me, like just recently when I went to see Mara Wilson, I just knew her as Matilda. So like I always watched the shit out of Matilda, and when I got a different movie of her, A Simple Wish, I saw it. And I was a kid. I was like, oh my God, it's Matilda. And my parents were like, no, that's not. That's her name's Annabelle. It's not. I'm like, no, that's Matilda. No, I knew like you can't fool me. That's Matilda. So like it kind of opens up that whole like multiverse thing where I'm like, yeah, you could just everything that everyone's ever played. So maybe this John Leguizamo ate like a bad mushroom in Mario fucking Mushroom Kingdom and he became this guy. I don't know. Went through the wrong warp pipe and ended up like some dick in whatever universe this is. Start killing everybody.
Turn over to the Bowser side.
Yeah. But yeah, no one else has a Skull Crusher. I think it's Santa, but it has enough unique elements to it that make it really fun. I mean, I thought the whole, and he said like, oh yeah, I'm going on like 1,000 some years at least, and he was like a really badass Viking before that, and I'm just like, okay, but how'd you do that? Did you knock someone off your roof too, and you were just suddenly Santa? Like, what? Hold on, you didn't explain this shit to me. So, he's definitely up there. I would say one of my favorites always will be A Christmas Story. Like, like Tex said, I mean, like, you're going to shoot your eye out. Merry Christmas. Boy, kicks him down the slide. I'm like, come on, that's awesome. And I would say Tim Allen, specifically Toy Story 2's Toy Santa version. I don't know what it is about the Toy Santa that makes me it makes me laugh to this day still. I don't know why it was so fucking funny to me. But yeah, oh man, I'd love to see the Toy Santa and this guy go at it. That'd be fun. A whole army of he had like a whole army of like toy soldiers or some shit. If I had to go out to like a top 5, yeah, I think I could definitely slip him in there. So very cool.
Yeah, it's very. Again, there's so many different takes that you've had on Santa over the years for so many different reasons. It's like I say, Edmund Gwynn in Miracle on 34th Street is a fantastic one. It's one of the few like blatantly Christmas emotional cry fest movies that I could watch and actually like because it's a fantastic film. Then you get this. You get somebody who's obviously playing Santa, like Billy Bob Thornton in Bad Santa. It's like they really have kind of twisted Santa to fit a lot of different kind of stories. So ranking them is very difficult because I expect a different Santa from each movie. Is this one of my favorite Santas? Oh yeah, it's like
yeah.
For one, I mean by itself, ignoring the role, David Harbour's a very good actor.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he's a bit of a nut, but he's a very good actor. I mean,
he plays it well.
Yeah, all the way back to like the first thing I remember seeing him in was the Newsroom, the TV show that HBO had for a while. I remember seeing him on that. That was pre Stranger Things and stuff like that. And I've seen him in a few like other things, since then. But yeah, I mean, so he's been in a lot of stuff where he's been very, very good. But dude, this is just the iteration of Santa that it's. You throw caution to the wind on this one. I mean, it didn't have the basic background story. It didn't really follow what we know about Santa Claus, or well, what we think we know, what's apparently been documented about who Saint Nick really was in real life that Santa Claus is based on. It didn't follow any of that stuff. It was just, it fit for this movie. And one of the things that I liked is they kind of didn't explain much about what Santa is. I thought it was cool that he, like, when they asked him, they were like, you know, how does this work? He's like, I don't really know. Instead of going through like, oh, well, it's candy canes and snow and fucking reindeer farts and blah, blah, blah. And it all comes together into the Santa magic. He's just like, I don't really know how this shit works. I just know it does. It's like, it was kind of like how they got away with time travel in Avengers Endgame. You get away with it by not explaining it. You just say, you know what, it's here, it works. Just let's have the movie. Don't really go in. Don't think about it. It's just here.
Well, like you said, the reindeer drive, I just kind of steer a little bit.
Yeah.
Considering every time Marvel does a movie, like time travel in the Loki show, it's completely different from what it was 2 movies ago, but that doesn't matter. This is now, that was then. Don't worry about it. Just accept it.
It's okay. The Infinity Stones are bullshit too, anyway. So
right.
Outside of time. But yeah, so it does make me wonder, though, is Santa in this universe, in this world, kind of similar to the one in like Tim Allen's world, where it's not just one guy who just lives, who is Santa forever? It can, the mantle
it's
can
a
pass
role.
from the other. Because you wonder, well, like, was there not only how did he become Santa, which it never really addresses, but it's like, was there one before him? Can there be another one? I mean, do we get 3 movies out of this Violent Night series, and then at the end of it, he's just like, you know, or maybe he actually dies and passes the mantle on to somebody else, or maybe, you know, it goes on to the little girl, and she, you know, they can do their thing and make her the first female Black Santa or whatever. I mean, it's
God, don't do that. No, they're going to do that now. Now that you said that, it's going to happen, Frank.
Yeah, I gave him the idea. I put it out there.
It's gonna be what's her face who's playing Valkyrie in Marvel. That's who it's gonna be.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and she's gonna have guy pronouns and wear a power suit. The whole thing.
Valkyrie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, is he a good Santa? Absolutely. I mean, he's a great Santa for this movie. And on top of that, you couldn't put an older guy like, I mean, not that Edmund Gwynn is still alive, but I mean, you couldn't put an old guy like him or like a Richard Attenborough or somebody in there right now, because it wouldn't be believable that like 80-year-old guy is going to go around kicking people's asses, even if he did have Santa magic. So
see, that's one thing I would have done differently with this Santa is the ending of this film. I would have done completely different. And he still could have came back to life for another one, and it would have helped with the magic part. I wouldn't have had, you know, once he's laying there dead and the little girl's, oh, if we believe, then he'll come back to life. I wouldn't have had him come back to life. I would have had him vanish magically, do something, and then leave it open-ended so you could do something else in the future. Obviously, I know the director wanted to probably send people home with a happy ending, blah, 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 whatever. But you're doing a movie called Violent Night. You know, this is it. You're not. You know, not every movie needs a happy ending, and you're doing a action / horror Santa Claus movie. You don't have to go that route. I would have went against the trend of, oh, he's back to life. He's got a new sack, and here's the reindeer. You know, I didn't like how they ended it on that. I would have done that differently. I will say that.
Well, I mean, you've also got to think they probably made this maybe thinking they were onto something that was going to do well. So they're like, we don't want to kill him because we might want to do a sequel, and we don't want to have to.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Back other than just Santa magic.
Well, I mean, it is go back to what y'all have been saying this whole time. You know, he doesn't really know how the magic works, right? So this is a bridge to the next movie with he dies and then when he disappears, do the same effect that you do when he goes up the chimney or whatever, and you leave it open ended. So I mean, they may bring this guy back to direct. I don't even really know who he is, but you can leave it open ended enough to where you can go different places creatively. David Harbour's still going to be your Santa. Everybody knows, oh, okay, you know, we've seen enough movies to know that there's always a bait for a sequel. This is what this is. You're not going to drive off viewers, I wouldn't think. Well, but I don't know. I would have done it differently.
it's also part of the kind of what vexes him during the movie. It's like, very early on, when he's sitting there at the bar at the beginning of the movie, he's bitching about how it's all about materialism now. Nobody believes in Santa anymore, and that's it. Kind of alludes to the fact that one of the reasons why he feels and looks so run down in the movie. I mean, he's getting drunk in a bar in the middle of Christmas Eve, after all, is because the people don't believe. And it's like, even when he's pulling the stuff out, he's like, video game. It's like, it shows him like in that montage before all hell breaks loose that all kids are asking for is money and shit. So he's just like stuffing money in fucking stockings. He's just like, the lack of people believing in Santa anymore is one of the things that's affecting his desire to do the job. So there is a correlation. So it made sense to me that as they're all standing around him at the end, after he had been shot and all the bad guys have been dispatched and he dies, that all these people who didn't believe in Santa suddenly saying, I believe in Santa now because I've just seen it, that kind of is what brings him back. So it kind of makes sense narratively.
Yeah, I get that. I don't know.
Like I said, and on top of that, there's a sequel. There's a sequel coming.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like I said, I understand why they did what they did with the whole "I believe in Santa" thing. For me, it would have played better. If I had my druthers, I would have rather him, vanish magically, and then maybe he pops up in Viking heaven, and then that's how we get to whatever. However you want to write the sequel, that's a different project. But I would just like to have seen a different ending. To me, it was too tied up in a bow, and I don't necessarily like a happy ending at the end of a movie. Yes, I did that on purpose, Jim.
I know.
Hey, you got the erectile dysfunction line. I have to throw something in here to try to come at it. Okay? You probably beat me this time, but I have to try. It is what it is.
I might drop pretty early, man. There's still time. You still got time.
But yeah, like I said, I would have liked to have seen this. Just for me, selfishly, a different ending I think would have been better. But it's whatever.
But let me ask you guys this: what did you think of Santa being like a warrior and not necessarily just some guy who was a saint years ago? I mean, this is a very different background that we've gotten for Santa. It doesn't really explain how he got to the position where he's handing out toys on Christmas Eve. Maybe that'll be handled a little bit in a sequel. But I mean, that's a very different background than we've ever gotten for somebody who became Santa Claus. Tex, what did you think of that strange background for this character?
Well, you can't have your traditional Santa be the Santa for this movie. I mean, you can't have the guy with a jiggling bowl full of jelly for a belly, as you're murdering Santa Claus. It doesn't fit. You can't have Tim Allen's Santa Claus show up and start murdering people. As much as I would love to see that, I think it'd be hilarious. It doesn't make sense narrative. So you have to give him a different background, and the Viking aspect makes sense. Old, or in ancient society, Santa Claus is old. It makes sense. The beard, there's natural ties to it. Like I said, for sequel bait, that's where I would go with it. Explain how he gets from covered in blood on a battlefield to, milk and cookies and, video games on Christmas. There's a lot of holes here to be filled. That's why I said I think there was a little too much plot thrown into this one because they were trying to set up sequels, which, that's how you start a universe. I understand it. But I like that they gave it a different twist, and the plot made sense for that because, you need a violent Santa to be in Violent Night. So, works for me.
Yeah, Jeremy, what do you think of the background that they gave David Harbour's character?
I thought it was pretty badass because, I was like, he's this big Viking dude. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of cool. And that stuck with him, even through the fact that he's Santa. I mean, this can't be the only time. Well, maybe the only time something like this happened, but I mean, there's probably other times something happened. I mean, he just went full Skull Crusher mode. So, I think it was pretty cool that it gave a different angle, and also does, again, like you said, you can't have this jolly old dude walking, and then all of a sudden he just flips the switch and becomes, Santa Wick, bashing everybody's faces in with a fucking candy cane. So
Somebody please make that in Photoshop. I need to see Keanu Reeves as Santa Wick now. I need to see that.
There's your other variant right there. I don't know. Yeah. It was cool.
Maybe
That
we can
it
get Keanu Reeves as like Jack Frost. That'd be kind of fun to see.
Yeah, that could work.
Yeah.
No, it works. It was pretty cool. I mean, not that I really needed an explanation, but I mean, I'm kind of that left a story and a plot line open that I'm like, I would love to see how like this dude suddenly it just became Santa, and like at least he still kind of kept his edge. You know what I mean? Makes sense that it's someone as a Viking. You know, the northern North people. You know, in the fucking cold, so it kind of makes sense. Maybe like a little more explanation, but it still made it cool. It made it a little more believable. Like again, that this dude was just going to start swinging on everybody when they're on the naughty list. So.
Well, I've got a little bit of the trivia that can kind of explain why they went that route, which is something that I didn't know, to be absolutely honest. But I actually like that they gave him a bit of a different background. I mean, it's one thing to go with the stuff that's in the books, in the history books about, you know, the guy who would give candy to kids on Christmas Eve. And that's kind of where the whole thing comes from, this St. Nicholas guy. But giving him a different background, I think, it explains why he's able to kick so much ass.
Yeah.
You know, he's been there before. I mean, he swung Skull Crusher, and he's killed people. He was the naughtiest in the naughty list, that whole thing. But also, it makes it a little less boring. It gives Santa a different dimension because nobody ever, like Tex said, we always think of the bowl full of belly shakes like a bowl full of jelly and yada yada yada, fat guy on a sled. We don't usually see Santa as somebody who's kind of physically fit. I mean, even in the Tim Allen stuff, it's like during the summer and stuff when he's not Christmasing, he's in shape, and then he like grows fat and stuff as Christmas gets closer magically, or Christmas magic. And so we always get that image instead of this guy who, I mean, he looks like a warrior even in this. He's got like the leather shit that's underneath his red jacket and stuff like that. He's dressed like he's getting ready to go get into a fight. So it made a lot of sense to me. I was kind of disappointed that they didn't give a bit more of an explanation, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm kind of okay with a little bit of the mystery, but I do want them to delve into it a bit more in a potential sequel, which leads me to my next question. I mean, what do you want from the sequel? I mean, I'll go to you first, Tex. I already said there's a sequel in development. We don't necessarily know when it'll come out, but they said they're definitely working on it. They want to move forward with it. I think David Harbour has said he wants to do one. The director said he wants to do one. Most of the crew involved so they can come back and do another one. I mean, what would you want out of a sequel to this movie?
Well, the number one thing that I want out of a sequel is no more CGI blood. I have a very low tolerance for, if you're going to do a violent gore film, go practical with it. I'm not saying, I mean, obviously we just reviewed Renfield, which did the CGI blood, but they did it better than this film. So in your sequel, go practical. I mean, Jeremy knows it's not that hard to do fake blood. It's actually a lot easier and cheaper. So please do that. But as far as story-wise, I want to see, like, once again, like Jeremy said, how do you go from Skull Crusher to Ho Ho Ho? That's a big leap. Is it a, you know what I'm saying? I mean, is it like Frank alluded to earlier? Is this a job that's passed down? Like, I mean, what does Santa Claus say in this movie? He used to be on top of the naughty list. Is that the punishment for being on top of the naughty list? You have to be the new Santa now, so you can see why you need to be nice. That would make a lot of sense to me. That's probably where I would go with it. But before we can go forward, I think we need to go backward here a little bit, and maybe not do a straight prequel. Maybe technically have a sequel that just explains more of the past. I think is probably the best way to do it. Not just a full-on prequel film, but have a story that takes place in the future, very similar plot line, whatever it may be. Maybe Jack Frost is your villain, or Krampus, or whoever else. I like that idea of Santa Claus versus Krampus, which is I've seen in other films, but I'd like to see it again. And while this is going on, maybe Krampus is an old villain from a different Viking camp or something. And they're both old Vikings, just one's on the good side, one's on the bad side. You know, something like that.
I don't know, Jeremy. What about you? You got any ideas of what you would do in the sequel?
I think I agree that, I mean, I don't think it necessarily needs to be an origin movie or a prequel, but delve a little more into it. I would agree.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I was going to, where I'm like, maybe Santa or whoever at that time came to him and said, like, okay, like, here's a redemption for you. If you take this job, you know, you can, instead of being, public enemy number one on the top of the naughty list, you could maybe do something and I'll give you my job. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
Well, think about it. Did Marvel not do the same thing with Loki? They took a villain who was a bad guy, another Viking character, and made him into a good guy. Obviously, the model can work. You know what I'm saying?
True. As for like what you would do, I'm like, I don't know if you want to make this into what's like an anthology thing where it's like, yeah, it's always David Harbour as Santa, but like, do you still want to have like the same people from the family we just saw, or like because I mean the odds of that, well, maybe not the odds of it happening again, but like you got these like really ritzy like hoity-toities in this fucking house in the middle of nowhere apparently, and they got all the money in the world. I don't doubt that it'd make you a target, but I'm like, to have it happen again would be maybe a little bit ridiculous. So I don't know where you'd go with it.
I think you need a new family. I think I'll be real honest with you. I would scale back on the family side of it and focus more on the Santa Claus and the lore side, because that's the best part of the movie. Like I said, I could have took 10 minutes out of this film and it would have been family stuff, and the movie would have been better for it.
Like they did with, and since they said this was the same people that made John Wick, I mean, they kind of did that. Like, you had the first, little batch of mobsters, Russian mobsters that he dealt with, and killed the dude who killed his dog. And then it kind of like it kind of had a little bit of a like half stepping stone in the beginning of the second one. It's like, okay, well now he's got to go get his car back, and it's from like the brother of like the guy or some shit, and it kind of and then it went into something else, you know what I mean? But like the core aspect of it, obviously, in this bigger world of shit going on is, John Wick himself. So like if you have this Viking Santa, I would say go somewhere else with it, but kind of still keep it. You can keep it within that world. Like you can still have like the little girl like talk to him on the radio or something, You'd be like, well, I don't know, someone in this town's having a fucking problem. Go get him. I don't know. You can be like your little person on the inside or something.
Well, look at it this way. Anytime there's a sequel, I mean, let's go back to the Scream rules. You have to have more victims. It has to be more bloody in this kind of movie, right? So within this world, we've already established that Santa Claus is real, magic is real. He can visit people. So maybe Krampus is also real and can visit people. He visits the naughty kids or something. And we have Krampus visiting one of the naughty kids to do whatever this version of Krampus does. And Santa Claus comes upon Krampus, and then you can take your story from there. You still get your human aspect. You can have the little girl in it as a callback or whatever if you want. You've upped the level. You can up the violence. Maybe Krampus has some little evil elves or some kind of mutant monster elves or something that Santa can bludgeon to death with skull crushers. That'd be fun to watch. Something like that. Make it make sense, and you can keep a low budget, go practical effects, and it would be an even better film.
You could have that awkward, like, it's like now this Santa is going to like start cleaning up the naughty list a little bit, because it said his whole thing was like, everyone's just on the naughty list. Like, it's always them. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger. It's like, okay, maybe let's clean this thing up a little bit. And then like, because Krampus visits the bad kid. So like they awkwardly both come into the room together and they're like, oh, I feel like the same person. It's like, what are you doing here?
Well, what I'd like to see is, for one, a new family. I want to make it go kind of more the anthology route. Don't visit the same family again. I think that'd be, as much as I love Beverly D'Angelo, I think that particular family storyline has been played. They played that card and it was good. So do something different. Whether it has to be another family or just a group of people or a random group of people or something, you can do whatever with it. But I want to bring in new fresh faces because just going back to the same family, I think would just be trying to rehash this movie too much.
Yeah,
I would like to see them delve a little bit more into the background of how he becomes this. If they have their eyes on like a trilogy now, that this first movie has come out, it did well, and people want to see more. I would say spread out over this trilogy. The second movie delves a little bit more into how he became Santa, and then maybe the third movie will maybe talk about a little bit more of his life as Santa and maybe transitioning out of the role if there really is something you can pass it on. So that's what I'd like to see from it. I'd like to see more kills, obviously. I'd like to see more blood. I'd like to see him doing the same stuff that he did in this movie, because that's one of the reasons we watch this movie. It's you're seeing Santa whoop a lot of terrorist ass, which sounds like a lot of fun. I would maybe even like to change the setting. I mean, instead of it being someplace in America, have it be some other place like.
Well, it started in England, right?
Russia.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's at the bar in England in the beginning, but I mean, where the bulk of the action takes place is, I'm assuming, somewhere in America.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You could go anywhere. You can go anywhere in the world. Yeah.
Not even like Canada, because Canada is just basically northern Minnesota. I mean, go put him in London.
That is true. That is true.
I mean, look, put him in Russia and have some Russian mobsters start some shit while he's getting ready to deliver some presents to his house. And then he's going to go up against the Russian mob, not just some like random terrorist trying to rob this chicken.
And then he kicks in Putin's fucking front door like, ho, ho, motherfucker.
You could have some actor play Putin. It could be Putin's house. That'd be even funnier. Right. I mean, we already got the interview with Kim Jong Un.
That's what I mean.
So we could do it like that.
The villain is a guy that's shirtless riding a bear. He's the main bad guy of the movie.
Exactly.
Yeah, that could be fun.
Kicks in those boots, you motherfucker. Boom.
Yeah. Do something a little different. I mean, change the setting, change some of the people, but keep Santa doing his thing. You know what I mean? And then find some way through the dialogue or through some of the downbeats to kind of give you a little bit more of his backstory. That's what I'd like to see. Also, I mean, look, as good as this movie did, you'd probably be able to get a couple more good celebrity cameos. Yeah. I mean, get a couple of guys, maybe even some people who aren't known for doing action comedy things. I mean, because remember, Leslie Nielsen was more of a dramatic actor throughout the 60s and 50s, 60s, and 70s. It wasn't until you get to the early 80s that he started doing comedy, and that gave him like a second career. Then, Naked Gun and stuff like that, and then on down the line. So I would say find somebody. I mean, Patrick Stewart's done some comedic stuff, but I would say find somebody like a Patrick Stewart to go in there and be like the ringleader of the bad guys this time, or maybe you just go get Ryan Reynolds, let him be the bad guy. Wouldn't it be cool to see him as a terrorist?
If you talking about Patrick Stewart as the bad guy or as the leader of the bad guy, have y'all ever seen The Green Room?
Green Room? Yeah, I've seen Green Room.
It's a horror film about like basically Patrick Stewart is like the head of a neo-Nazi group that is trying to kill a band that played at their clubhouse. Patrick Stewart is so good in that movie. If you haven't seen that, go watch that.
I was about to ask you, Mike, wasn't there one where he was a bad guy? He was like a Nazi or some shit?
Yeah,
that one.
Yeah, that he plays like. I mean, he's like he is so wholesome as Professor. Well, technically, Professor X is a human sympathizer. Trying to put his own kindness behind whatever. That's a different podcast. Whenever we talk about X-Men, I'll nerd out on that. But yeah, he plays Patrick Stewart could be a bad guy. I can see that.
But yeah, I mean, well, let me ask you guys this real quick before we move on to some of the trivia. Tex, what was your favorite kill in the entire movie?
Oh, I love when Skull Crusher comes out. Anytime I love a good sledgehammer death. I'm a sucker for it. I know it's cliche and it's easy, but seeing somebody just get the shit bashed out of them with a sledgehammer, you got my vote. I mean, from the opening scene of Texas Chainsaw to Violent Night, chainsaws and sledgehammers are some of the best deaths in horror. So any of the sledgehammer deaths for me is where I got to go.
I don't know. What do you think, Jeremy? What was the kill that entertained you the most?
But I'm gonna insult Casey here for a second. Give me a second. I don't even know what I said that I made him so mad, but whatever.
Well, while you're doing that, Casey, I did see Rose's comment that he sent on your little last and serious, and I heard what you said, my friend. Paybacks are coming. Just know that ahead of time. I did hear what you said, and I do not forget, and I keep receipts. So just remember that. You got one coming, Casey.
Oh, excuse me. I would say probably the most inventive one that I liked was the fucking star topper through the dude's fucking eye, and they turned it on, and he just caught fire. And I imagine
He
that
burned his head up. That was cool. That was
He's just like,
creative.
oh, he's like, damn it. Okay. They didn't realize, like, oh, that was probably a bad idea. I think the one that I think I had the most fun with was definitely when he shoved the grenade down the dude's pants and he stopped. He's like, oh, I gotta look. Hold on. He just blows up. He's just like, oh, like, holy shit. Like Frank put his quote there. He's like, oh, holy shit. That was.
I know this doesn't count as a death in the movie.
What?
I know this doesn't count as a death, but when he pulls the baby doll out of the bag and whacks a guy in the back of the head with it, that makes me laugh every time. I do have to point that out as well. That was fun.
He did beat the shit out of someone with Jesus, and I did yell, "May the power of Christ compel you," and that was pretty funny. Yeah, no, I'd say the grenade in the pants, and he's like, "Oh, I gotta look." Like, how are you not gonna? I know you gotta don't look at the explosion. That's a rule, but I'm like, nah, that one's worth it. You can have that one. It's pretty great.
Yeah, I'm with Jeremy on the grenade in the pants thing. It's like it's one thing to put a grenade in someone's pants. I mean, it's been done before in movies, but it's a cool way to kill somebody, especially somebody who's got it coming. But like when you add what he says, he's walking away. You think it's gonna be that cool thing where he's walking away from the camera, explosion happens behind him, but when he stops around, he goes, "I just gotta look." I thought that was hilarious. The other one is when he kills John Leguizamo's character. He kills him with Christmas magic. He sucks him up the chimney and squeezes all his fucking head and his extremities off, and he just pops up there with his torso. I was like, that is pretty damn cool.
That's a Mortal Kombat level type of shit.
I can see a lot of people looking at that and be like, that's the coolest death of this whole thing. But those are the two that really jumped out at me. But there was a lot of really cool deaths. I mean, again, the guy being impaled by the where's the picture at? I just lost it. The guy being impaled by
Christmas
by the ice. That one. I was like, that's an impalement is always a fun death. But stuff like that. I mean, they weren't.
Icicle's a perfect weapon. It melts away.
They weren't quite as cool as some of the deaths in Blue Blood and Honey. I still like the fact when he stuck that girl through the mouth to the pole with the machete just hanging there. The whole running over the car slowly kind of thing. But I mean, still they were pretty cool. I can't deny they were pretty cool. But let's move on to a little bit of trivia now. And Morgan Steele, played by, let's see, what was his name? Cam Gigandet.
Gaganet. I don't know.
Gaganet?
I have no idea. His name's just fun to say.
I don't know.
Sounds like a medical condition.
He's actually based on Mark Wahlberg. Like Mark Wahlberg, Steele stars in several films about the military and says he could have stopped the hijackers on 9/11 had he been aboard the plane. This is a claim that Wahlberg made and apologized for in 2012.
Oof.
I've never heard Mark Wahlberg say that.
I remember it being news. Yeah, he said.
But I believe him. But you tell me that, I'm like, I'd totally see him saying that.
Oh yeah,
I believe it.
I mean, look, guys talk shit. Sometimes they talk shit in the wrong way. I mean, whatever.
I'd be willing to bet he was probably hammered at the time when saying that and feeling very pro-America. Like he probably ripped his shirt off like Hulk Hogan, and felt very he felt the red, white, and blue flowing through his veins, brother. While he said that line, I could imagine.
I'd be like, nah, put your shirt back on, Mark. You're not going to stop 9/11.
Well, how do you stop a hologram from flying into the towers? How do you stop that, Jerry?
I was like,
saying, how do you stop a flying hologram?
You do it in your tidy whities because you're Mark Wahlberg. You grab your teddy bear and you say, all right, Thunder Buddies for life.
Just say,
good vibrations in the background.
Does Ted and or a Transformer have to show up? Now, if Mark Wahlberg had the Transformers on his side, he could have totally stopped 9/11. Just saying. But,
Or maybe the damn Dirty Apes did it.
Oh.
You want to talk about that movie?
We need to shut down the zoos. We need to shut down the zoos before Caesar shows up and starts flying airplanes. We better watch out. I'm just saying.
Let's see. Scrooge at one point actually asked Santa Claus, "All right, who the hell are you really, huh? Some security guard who's watched too many action flicks?" That echoes the line that Hans Gruber says to John McClane in Die Hard in 1988. "You know my name, but who are you? Just another American who saw too many movies as a child?"
There's so many callbacks to different 80s, between 80s action films and Christmas movies. This thing is Easter egg chock full. I would love to see like one of those.
I was thinking
kill
Mall Cop.
counts.
That's
When
what it
he-
kind of felt like to me.
Yeah, when he kills the guy with the Christmas star, when he's fighting, he's pulling the stuff out of his bag, and he's just like shaking a video game. He pulls it out, and he shakes it. He goes, Die Hard on Blu-ray. And he throws it. I was like, that's pretty funny. I mean, because they had to know when they were making this, there was going to be a lot of comparisons to Die Hard. So I mean,
Think about it. I mean, there's a reason why they describe every action movie. Oh, well, this is Die Hard on a plane. This is Die Hard on a bus. This is Die Hard on blah blah blah. Because that trope was created with Die Hard because it was such an awesome movie. Still not a Christmas movie, but an awesome film, and it set up its own subgenre within the action kind of thing. So, one of those
I forgot for a second that me and Tex are actually on the same page about that. Right.
Well, it's because we're the smart people, Jeremy.
I know.
Everybody else is a godless heathen that doesn't know one from two here. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and I'm glad Frank brought that up because that was I chuckled, but it's funny. I mean, I was just like, really, fuck you. I knew you couldn't wait for the day you shot that. We're like, we're gonna mention Die Hard. They about creamed their fucking pants because they're like, it's a Christmas movie. No, it's not. You threw that in there literally because he's like, oh, you have to mention Die Hard at least once. I'm like, no, that's the lot of points that you lost from me. You're like, don't do that. Come on, this is actually a Christmas movie, and you threw that in there.
I would have took that joke one step further though. Whenever he says, "Oh, Die Hard on Blu-ray," I would have had him open up and he'd go, "Oh, DVD," and then throw it, just as like chunking out the old media kind of thing. I would have taken just one step further, but either way it works. I enjoyed it a lot.
I thought it was like Mall Cop because it was kind of the same deal. Like all the henchmen were all there to pull a heist to get money to go do whatever. Like they were going to the Cayman Islands or whatever the hell in that movie, and they all had like Christmas themed like names for the henchmen. I'm like, yeah, this feels like Mall Cop to me. So, and I absolutely love that movie. You know what? I would say it's a Christmas movie because it does. It's Black Friday and it's it's a Christmas movie.
Right.
Chronologically speaking, the film starting in England makes sense, as time zones would allow Santa to already be on his rounds in the UK while it's afternoon in the US when Trudy and her mom pick up her dad. I love that kind of attention to detail.
That's true.
Makes movies funner.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, that just shows the production team was paying attention and getting some details right. So get on that.
I accepted the fact that I saw someone make a fan art of they turned like the DeLorean from Back to the Future into like Santa's sleigh. I'm like, that's probably how he does it. Sure. I don't know. He
could be.
He figured out
we get a Santa Doc or Doc Santa. Or how would we combine Doc Brown and Santa Claus?
I know. You could call him Doc Holiday.
Oh my God! Make the movie now. Make the movie now.
Say when.
We can get. Well, we're gonna have to hurry because Christopher Lloyd's getting older by the day, so we need to have him. We need Val Kilmer. I know we can't have him in a speaking role, but we can put a Santa beard on him and he'll be covered. We can make this movie. Like we can make this work. People. We have the technology.
You can still just have him walk out and just gesture like that, like. Or you have him just do the thing where he's flipping the fucking cup around on his goddamn.
Yeah, he's flipping his whiskey.
No words, just flipping the fucking little Christmas mug around and shit. Like,
then we dub his lines from Tombstone because he can't speak anymore. So we just take the lines from Tombstone, rework them, and there you go. We've got it. We can get Val Kilmer back in the movies, people. We are freaking geniuses on this freaking movie on this YouTube channel. Why are we not being paid for our genius? This is ridiculous.
Why are we not funding this?
Right.
Let's see here. The saint upon which Santa Claus was based, Saint Nicholas, was actually famous for a fight at the Council of Nicaea.
Really?
Okay, then. Well,
the Nicene Council.
I had no idea.
For those of you who have not read up on this kind of thing, I'm willing to bet many people haven't. The Nicene Council are the people that actually wrote the Bible. It was actually the second Nicene Council with the Bible that chose what books were going to be in the Bible.
I was going to say they didn't write, but they put together. I think
they chose what books would be in the Bible. Yes.
Yeah. Because that opens up the whole Book of Enoch and blah 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 and everything else. But yeah, they were the assemblers of the Bible. Yeah.
That picture, that last one you just had up. I was going to say, I do dig that look. Like he's got the, I like that it was a leather, red leather like jacket, but I like the underneath too. He's got like this like other like buckled up leather like vest on or some shit like that's
what Frank was pointing out earlier.
I don't know how I didn't notice it until later in the movie. I was like, oh shit, he's got like some Viking shit going on underneath, like even just his Santa suit. Like that's still fucking cool as hell. And I appreciate that you even had the look like he tied his hair up and kind of like the bum when he was fighting, and I was like, yeah, you don't want that shit flying around.
When he first found the sledgehammer up there, he's swinging around. There's a man bun. I was like, oh my god, really? Hate man buns.
I do too, but in this case, I'm like, and because it's David Harbour, I'm like, I'll allow it because you were just kicking everyone's ass in this movie, and I'm like, I get it, form over function, whatever.
Let's see. After Santa Claus takes out some insurgents, Scrooge, played by John Leguizamo, asked whether the protagonist could be a small town cop with 5 kids, a reference to Harbour's character Chief Hopper in Stranger Things.
I didn't even realize that.
I didn't even catch that.
Wow.
Nice.
So, you know what?
To be fair, I mean, like, first couple things there, it's like, yeah, this weird 11 magic. Don't know how it fucking works, but it works.
They should have had a line of like,
and shit happens. So
he goes like have Santa, David Harbour go into somebody's house to drop off presents, and he sees like waffles. Like you can't call them Eggos because trade marketing without having to pay whoever. But he sees waffles on the table and goes, God, I hate waffles. I prefer pancakes. Just as another callback to Stranger Things could have been funny as well. Something along those lines could have been kind of good. But I think this movie had enough Easter eggs. We didn't need any more necessarily. So it's all good.
And there's probably a bunch that we missed. There's probably a video on YouTube somewhere.
Probably.
With all the Easter eggs in this movie. I mean, there's only the ones that we caught watching it. I'm sure there's a list of them. If you actually
I've only seen this twice. Once when it came out last year, and then once for the viewing of this. So I haven't studied this like I have other films. So it's one of those kind of things.
Well, let's see. In many allusions to Die Hard Part 2, not Part 1, Part 2, Die Harder, which came out in 1990. Among them was John Leguizamo as a terrorist. He was actually one of the terrorists in Die Hard 2. Yep. An army meant to save the day is actually working with the bad guys. That's from Part 2. Yep. An icicle is used to kill a terrorist. That's Part 2. And snowmobiles play a part in the ending. So they're even trying to hit the same visual cues as a Die Hard movie.
What's the guys? Okay, I know we reviewed it earlier this year. The guys from that Simon Pegg and what's his face from Hot Fuzz.
Nick Frost.
They should have had a cameo somewhere in this movie, somewhere with some funny, quippy line about how this is such an action movie or some kind of nonsense like that. That could have paid it like.
That wouldn't have fit.
I would have had them be bad guys or something in the movie, just as an homage to the action, 80s action genre and the Hot Fuzz. I would have done something like that as well, just for shits and giggles. It could have been fun.
Yeah, but you start loading it up with cameos that are funny to you, and it won't make sense to anybody. Like, why would these guys be there?
Yeah.
Well, when he was in England, I mean, these two cops could have come up to him and like, all right, buddy, you're done, and take him out. Like, I don't know. That could have been.
Let's see. Beverly D'Angelo appears in a connection to another great Christmas movie. Beverly D'Angelo appears as the family's matriarch in another Christmas movie as well, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, which came out in 1989. Both movies include heavily armed trained individuals invading her home on Christmas Eve, explosions, someone's hair catching on fire, and death by Christmas tree light electrocution.
Yeah.
We just needed somebody to put a cat in a box, and and or somebody saying the Pledge of Allegiance as fireworks go off. Either one of those things would have fit well as well. Either one of those would have worked.
Holy shit, Dan Tylenol.
Get tap dance with Danny fucking K.
or have somebody go to the bathroom and go, damn, the shitter's full. Or need to go to the bathroom and damn, shitter's full. That would have been funny as well.
Let's see. Furthermore, and to wrap this up, the idea of Santa having a violent history actually makes sense according to some of the mythology around the historical St. Nicholas. The honest truth is we don't know much about the historical figure himself, but several stories have him associating with people like sailors, pirates, thieves, and getting in trouble for fighting. Of course, he was actually a Greek, not a Viking.
Yeah,
I didn't know he was Greek.
Kind of two different sides of the aisle there. So yeah, that's fair.
That's one of the reasons why I'd like to see them explore that a little bit more in a sequel.
Yeah.
It's like if the actual Saint Nick had this about him, and Santa Claus is based on Saint Nicholas, then why not? I mean, this would probably be the most honest portrayal of Santa Claus we've ever had, or at least from the little bit of details that we know. This would probably be the most real life accurate portrayal of Santa Claus that's ever
the
been
most
done.
canonic Santa Claus we've ever had.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. But yeah, I when I read that, I was like, I had no idea. I just thought that St. Nick was just some priest who was handing out candy on Christmas Eve. I never really read that much into him. But now that I know that St. Nick had this history of hanging out with pirates and thieves and shit and fighting and the Nicene Council, I'm like, this David Harbour is the most accurate, real life accurate Santa that we've ever had, because he's a badass. He's going around killing people all the time. But okay, that's probably a good place to start wrapping things up. I wish there was some more trivia, because I have a feeling there's more that's going to come out eventually.
It's only been a year.
I would hope so.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, there's some movies that we've done from like the 80s that have like 4 or 5 good tidbits of information, and I'm like, really? The movie's been out 150 years, and you don't have better trivia than this,
right?
But that's just the way it goes. So I'll start with you, Jeremy. Give me your final thoughts on Violent Night.
Yeah, just don't end up on the naughty list, because he will check that shit twice, and then be checking your door frame, and then you're getting a sledgehammer to the face. No, it's
or a Christmas star in the eye.
Yeah, if he comes
or a
in,
grenade in the pants.
Well, if he comes in sucking on a candy cane, like damn well in about 30 more seconds, that's going through your dome. So, that's the mind game. He's sitting there like eating it down. I'm like, yeah, because he's going to kill you with it. And it's like, no, it's just a matter of when. It's a mind game. No, this was. I'm glad I watched it. It was a lot of fun, and I like the John Wick movie, so it kind of had that same kind of feel and style to it. I think I was even noticing I think it was in the first. Yeah, it was the first fight. The guy that he shish kebabbed on that icicle. That was like almost one entire shot, like just one long, like action stunt of them fighting, which was kind of cool. So I kind of noticed, like, damn, this is still going. This is still one shot. Holy crap! So
I didn't realize that, but I think you're right.
Yeah, it was impressive. So and again, it was a lot of fun. The plot works. I mean, all the bad guys, I guess this is the most accurate canonical Santa Claus. So like I said, he's definitely earned a place in the top 5. I still want to see him toe to toe with Krampus or Tim Allen's Toy Santa. So maybe there's a Santa-verse that we need to explore here. I don't know.
Into the Santa-verse.
Enter the Santa-verse, exactly.
As long as Ricky from Silent Night, Deadly Night, who's dressed as Santa, is there murdering other Santas, I'm okay
exactly.
with it. I'm okay.
You could have it. Because I will say the thing I liked about the second Santa Claus movie with Tim Allen is I'm like, oh yeah, no, we're expanding it to all these other mythological beings like Mother Nature and Father Time, the Easter Bunny, the Tooth Fairy, Cupid. I'm like, that's fucking funny that they all, and the Sandman. I'm like, they all exist. They're all in like this weird council of like magic beings. I'm like, that's funny. Why are we doing more shit like that? Maybe just me sounding old and cynical, but I'm like, yeah, we don't make movies like that anymore. No one has fun. I sound like David Harbour now. Damn it! Everyone's on the damn naughty list. But fun movie.
And my man Tex, give me your final thoughts on Violent.
Yeah, like I said, it after seeing it last year, I watched it again this year. I mean, obviously for review purposes, but I was going to watch it either way. It's not a old film, but it's became a Christmas standard for me. Just because, hey, I like Christmas movies with the darker side. It's just the way that it is. But I'd give it about a 6 overall. It's a good film. It's a fun watch. This is not one I don't think I would watch more than once a year. I don't think it's one of those. But it's if you like Christmas movies with an edge to them, this is definitely going to be up your alley. So I would highly recommend it. It's a fun one to see. You get to see Santa Claus shoving grenades down people's britches, and all I've got to see. So just for that alone, I'd say it's worth the price of admission. Go check it out.
Yeah, like I said, at the top of the review, it's Christmas is just it's a perfect counter programming opportunity. I mean, yeah, it's really easy to have the jingle bells and the happiness and the snow and the sledding and all those visuals, but it's a perfect time of year to go after something like action like this or horror. There's so many different things that you can do with this that people didn't even realize till really about 20 years ago or so. It wasn't until probably the late 80s.
I'd say the 80s.
Yeah,
I'd say the 80s because
the 90s.
There's a lot of Christmas horror from the 80s. I mean, hell, the whole Silent Deadly Night franchise, I think there's 4 or 5 of them was in the 80s. So it's kind of when it started.
Yeah, so I mean, there's lots of fun to be had with these kinds of movies around Christmas time because I mean, yeah, anybody can make Miracle on 34th Street, but you can't make Violent Night. You can't make one of these other things that still because in its core, it still embraces what's great about Christmas. I mean, the lesson. I mean, Santa and this family both learn the lessons that we all try to hammer into each other's heads around Christmas time. So it does serve that purpose. So I mean, you can be mad about it not being a traditional kind of Christmas movie, but it's giving you all the same messages that the money is not important, the people are what's important, which is why I like when. As silly as I think it was, I like the fact that his mom at the end was like, okay, now I see you the way I didn't see you before, which is kind of the whole purpose of these movies generally is to give people that different perspective they didn't have coming in. But yeah, it's a really fun movie. David Harbour's fantastic. The rest of the cast was fantastic. John Leguizamo is great. It's one of my instant classics. Of my 3 or 4 Christmas movies that I'll watch regularly at any time of year, this is one of them. It's fantastic. It's a lot of fun. Again, don't take it too seriously. It's just a fun, different kind of movie for Christmas. And for people like me and Tex who don't really get into the usual Christmas fare, then this is a nice alternative. We still get the message without having to sit through 3 hours of schlock and stuff like that. But go check it out. It's actually on Amazon. I don't know where you guys watch it on. Where did I watch it on?
It's on Prime.
It's on Prime. I think it might be on Peacock as well, or Max, one of the two.
It's on Peacock, yeah.
Peacock, maybe that's it. But yeah, so if you have subscriptions to either of those services, you guys can go watch it for free. And I think it's available on one of the other ones behind a paywall, but I forget which one. Or you just find it on DVD. I mean, a lot of people are still doing physical media. Go find it on DVD if you want. I wouldn't mind having this movie on Blu-ray, to be honest.
With the way studios are erasing properties, go buy physical media. Because they're going to take it away from you eventually, especially if that hammer of Zaslav's. I don't know who likes to swing their hammer more, Santa Claus in this movie or Zaslav swinging that axe around, because they're just chopping properties off the watch list. And if Warner Brothers gets a hold of Paramount, it's going to get even worse. So if you like something, you better buy it now because it may not be there tomorrow. So go buy it, people.
No doubt. But yeah, thanks a lot to my great co-host for coming to hang out with me. Great job as always, you two. I very much appreciate you guys being around. Jeremy, where can the folks at home find you on the internet?
You can always find me here. Tuesdays, Thursdays, whatever, we're reviewing. It's, it could be anything. So, just come for the fun. And as I always neatly tie this up with a bow, that I am a terrible content creator. So I don't remember who I said. I was talking to somebody at work. I'm like, I pretty much have like every social media. It's all the same name. But I either just lurk or I don't really do anything. But no. I consistently suck at Fortnite, but that's also because the game is broken, but whatever. Not my fault. It's bad. I am working on another pretty involved cosplay. Now I'm realizing I've been constantly adding crap to it like every day. Actually, there's one bit of it right here. It's not going to make any sense, but a little mint tin. But just trust me.
I hope the mints don't fall out of that tin.
Well, I could make them mentats, and those are drugs, but I am weirdly a straight edge in those games. I don't use any of the drugs. Don't do drugs, kids. Even in video games. It's not good for you.
Drugs are bad, okay?
Yeah. And somewhere, oh yeah, there's a. Actually, I don't know if I can show that on YouTube. Actually, no, I can't. There's a. I could probably say it, but there's a metal flask over there that is also something from it. But yeah, I guess also with the passing of Matthew Perry, which I know sucks. I can kind of do a little tribute to this to him because he was one of the main bad guys in Fallout New Vegas, and that's where my cosplay is coming from. So, or it could just be his character. That'd be kind of funny. I'd have to wear an obnoxious checkerboarded suit jacket though, but I'll try and make it work. But yeah, last big haul for cosplay since that little thing of getting married and then not having money. So,
dude, just go to Vegas. Just tell her, hey, we can get a hamburger while we're getting it. Not that big a deal.
Well, I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, hey, I've got the outfit right there. I can, and there is a little town, a little mock town of Good Springs from Fallout New Vegas that's out there. I'm like, I could walk into that bitch in that full outfit and I would fit right in.
Get awesome. Married in a radiation suit. That's how you make it memorable right there, buddy. That's how you do it.
Yeah, makes you. Damn it. If I would have had the outfit done, I could have put it, even though I probably would have ruined the leather, but like when it was snowing outside.
I can hear Rachel screaming at me now. Don't give him any ideas. Shut up, Tex. I can hear her saying that
right. Hey, I've had to delegate some of this cosplay like to her. I'm like, can you make this bit for me? Because I'm like, there's so much of this shit that I need to make at this point. No, when it was snowing earlier, because there's always that line that specific character that I'm going as says when he says patrolling the Mojave almost makes you wish for nuclear winter. It was like snowing the other day. Like if I would have had the whole outfit, I would have put it on real fast and ran outside in the snow and been like, "Oh, that's not the winter I was thinking of." Like it just would have been funny. But yeah. Hopefully I put it together and it looks pretty awesome.
And to my man Tex, where can the folks at home find you on the internet, my friend?
Oh, here whenever we're not working and having kids, uproot our plans and life just in general, kicking us in the balls when we can't do our fun show that we love to do. I think we can all relate to that. But Merry Christmas to all watching that, live or afterwards. Hope everybody has a fun one and you don't kill too many of your relatives. If you do, make sure to hide the bodies real good. You don't want to be in jail for New Year's. Recommendation for the week. I've been saving this one because I love this one. Jack Frost. And I'm not talking with Michael Keaton. Yeah. I'm talking the actual Jack Frost movie of a serial killer that gets turned into a snowman.
Yep.
I'll go ahead and spoil this because it's the best scene in the movie, but it's still, you need to go watch it. You know how snowmen have a nose on their face. Sometimes that nose can get used elsewhere, if you know what I'm saying, and I think you do. So
I know what
go find saying. Jack Frost and Jack Frost 2. It takes place on a beach. They're both on Tubi for free, so you have no excuse. You do not have to pay for it or sell the high seas. Go watch Jack Frost 1 and 2 on Tubi. I know you have time. You're avoiding your family at home in the upcoming days. Go watch these awesome movies. You're welcome. So, Merry Christmas.
Only Tex.
Yeah. Well said.
There will not be anything on Tuesday. It's the day after Christmas, and there's probably still going to be Christmassy stuff going on. So you're not going to see us here on Tuesday. Wednesday, we will more than likely be doing a football stream. We're going to see how that goes. I would imagine that at least me and Tex will be on here doing some stuff. Because there's still
I won't
to talk about. Don't forget
we need Jeremy here to talk about sports ball one time.
I'm just going to sit there like a fucking lump on a log. I don't even know what the hell to say. I'll be like 1,000 yards staring into my camera.
Like 1 week instead of my pick 3. Instead of my pick 3, we have Jeremy explain sports ball, and that's what it's titled. I give him like 5 minutes to just ramble, and then he can leave. I think it'd be golden.
I'm going to piss off the entire stream. I not know a damn thing I'm saying.
That's right, Marcus. Marcus doesn't know anything about football outside of Cincinnati, so we're okay. All right. And don't forget, here in about a week or so, about a week and a half, the New Year's Eve charity stream is coming up. Well, all the donations that come in that night will go to the Abandoned Pet Project. We'll probably start a little bit later than usual, probably about between 9 and 10. I'm thinking probably closer to 10. And we'll try to go until all of the time zones in the United States have hit New Year's, and once an hour as the clock strike midnight in the individual time zones, we will have a drink, we'll play some music, we'll have a little mini party, and then we'll go back to just a general discussion. I have a few fun questions, a few fun topics, some movie related, some not, that I think we could have fun with. There'll be a lot of people kind of floating in and out that night, I think. So you definitely come by and check that out. And it's for a good cause, as once again, all the donations that we get that night are going to go to the Abandoned Pet Project. And as far as our next stream will be the 28th, our next review anyway will be the 28th. We'll be doing a movie that Tex already mentioned earlier tonight. But again, one of the great counter-programming Christmas movies ever in Bad Santa starring Billy Bob Thornton. That absolutely hilarious movie. Not suitable for work, not rated for children. Do not let your children watch that particular stream of ours, please. They probably shouldn't. It's right up mine and Texas alley for sure. So I'm pretty sure Corey want to review this one.
Watch out when you watch this because you might not shit right for a week.
Might not shit right for a week. I don't know. I don't know. Jeremy, have you seen this movie yet?
I don't think I've seen it, but I mean, it's Billy Bob Thornton.
Oh my God.
I think that explains 90% of the movie.
That joke will make a lot more sense once you hit that one particular scene. You're going to be like, oh, okay. Now I get what Texas is saying.
So you've never seen Santa getting it on naked in a hot tub wearing the Santa Claus hat? You've never seen that, right?
This is the internet, dude. I've probably seen that.
Well, I'm sorry. I forgot about Rule 34. That I forgot that exists. My apologies.
I've seen some weird shit, man. Like, I know my generation, I always like to say, like, I think we made the internet and kind of made it what it is. We were kind of the, not only pioneers, but like we were kind of in the just raw dog in the internet when it was gaining steam. Welcome, Gen Z.
I don't know if he was raw dogging in the hot tub. I mean, that's up for your interpretation, but you'll get to find out when you watch.
I'm just saying, I think we're the Vietnam vets of the fucking internet. I'm like, I've seen some shit, man. I've seen some shit. You weren't there. You weren't there, man.
Remember chat rooms? Oh my God, the chat rooms, they were the fucking Wild West.
Yeah. You chat roulette with somebody and some dude touched himself and was like, oh, that's a dick. All right, bye. Next one. God, man, you weren't ready for, oh man. That's why I'm so desensitized. We're just like it's like, no, I've seen it all, probably.
Have you guys heard, by the way,
can't hurt
that Aquaman is not doing very well?
Oh no.
Yeah.
It's getting destroyed.
I may not be going to the theater to see this from what I've seen so far. Considering how much Amber Turd is apparently still in this film, I may not be going. I don't know.
Any bit of it is still going to be too much. Like, look, I watched that Snyder cut, and she was still in there for like even a few minutes. But like the entire theater, we were just heckling the fuck out of her. It was so funny, and it even stopped. Like it paused for a second, like when Steppenwolf came in and started just kicking all the ass. He like punched her in the face, and the movie like froze up. I was like, no, punch her again. It was so funny.
Instead of going to see Aquaman 2 in theaters over Christmas, go watch The Iron Claw. It's a movie about the Von Erich wrestling family. Yeah. It's actually
cool.
You know, and it's not necessarily a wrestling movie. It's about the drama behind the Von Erichs. Basically, all of them but one committed suicide for the non-wrestling fans. I mean, I come from Von Erich country. It's a big deal for me. I've got a program from when they had the Von Erich stuff here on my wall. But go watch The Iron Claw. It looks really, really good. So go see that one instead of Aquaman.
That does look good.
Yeah, Iron Claw is one that's been getting really good reviews. I really kind of want to go see it. But
I want to go see that.
There's a couple movies in theaters. Since I have a bit of an extended weekend, I might go try to hit the theater a couple of times this weekend. But thanks to all of you for coming and hanging out with us. We very much appreciate it. You guys have a great Christmas. If we don't talk to you before then, I hope to see you guys on New Year's. Thanks to my amazing co-hosts. We will see you guys next time. Till then. Adios.
Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas.
Hose, hose, hose.
Hey, hose, 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 make the holiday better. There's a reason I put it in the line, buddy. Just saying.
Does Santa have ho-ho-hos in different area codes?
Oh, he got hose all over.
Time zones. What do you think he was doing? He was taking a break.
There's a reason why he's wearing that cool jacket. Santa's a pimp, man. He's got ho-hos everywhere.
Yeah, Skull Crusher comes to bed with us.